The following talk is adapted from The Right Time, About Time and Space, a book by Georgina P. Woodward. Narrated by AI voice Beatrix of Speechelo by Blaster. Chapter 1. Part 1. Uni-temporalism explored. This is a difficult starting topic, as a lot of new ideas and terminology are rapidly introduced. It is an important starting topic, as many ideas introduced later refer to the framework of understanding established at the outset. The following is important as a main component of a framework that resolves many long-standing issues in physics, including the reason behind the temporal paradoxes of relativity. 2 kinds of time. There are 2 different kinds of time that are of prime importance, that will be examined here. 1. Foundational time. The passage of time independent of observation, it is the temporal expression of the sequence of uni-temporal nows. The meaning of the expression uni-temporal and uni-temporal now follow. The term uni-temporal signifies just one foundational time. That is the same throughout the entire existing, material, object universe. Each time corresponds to a different, unique, material pattern or configuration. Uni-temporal now is a unique pattern of the entire object universe. Uni-temporal now is a temporal expression that is analogous to the youngest, actualized, existing, configuration of the object universe. Change in the material configuration is the foundational passage of time. This description of passage of time agrees with J.C.N. Smith, 2012, reference 1. It might be said in this regard that there is no foundational time that is separate from the substantial configuration, and the passage of time is only a temporal expression of the sequence of configurations. Uni-temporal now is not between observed past and a material yet to be observed future. It is the material moment between what has substantially existed and what does not yet exist. It is foundational, sequential, belonging to the philosophy of Endurantism. Endurantists believe that ordinary things do not have temporal parts, instead, things are wholly present whenever they exist, things persist by enduring. Hawley, K. 2020, reference 2. Regarding the persistence of objects. There are 2 different ideas about persistence of objects. Endurantism, an object has all its parts coexisting simultaneously, not extended over time. Perdurantism, objects are extended in space and time, or within amalgamated space-time, and therefore have a temporal dimension. Differentiating actualizations and manifestations. Actualization, noumenon, beable. That which is or has become actual or real, independently of information receipt and processing by an organism, device or apparatus. Pertaining to existing components of the source-object reality. Manifestation. An observed manifestation is the image reality product generated from the electromagnetic radiation, or other potential sensory signal input, and sensory data processing. A manifestation can be the conscious experience of a higher organism, or film image produced by a camera, or other type of representation produced by an instrument that receives electromagnetic radiation or other potential sensory input and, via resulting processes that occur, generates an observation product. Visualizations can also be produced internally, that augment the image reality, compensating for lack of information, and gap filling. Or appear superimposed upon it, as hallucination. Hallucination can be called alternative image reality. Virtual reality game imagery, text or symbols superimposed is called augmented reality. Existing actualizations fulfill the criterion for endurantism. Image reality manifestations of objects fulfill the criterion for perdurantism. As they are generated from sensory signals that have taken different amounts of foundational time to arrive together, or close together, giving a temporal dimension to the product. Remember, endurantism, an object has all its parts coexisting simultaneously, not extended over time. Perdurantism, objects are extended in space and time, or within amalgamated space-time, and therefore have a temporal dimension. 2. Emergent time. Emergent time, this is the time that is experienced or measured by an observer, organism, device or apparatus, via signal receipt. The observer's present is formed from processing of the sensory data which is produced in response to receipt of stimulus signal input. The seen, and otherwise sensed, product, the sequence of presence, is an emergent manifestation of passage of time. It is not synchronized with the external reality, and so also not synchronized with the uni-temporal passage of time. A. There is delay that increases with distance from the site of electromagnetic radiation signal emission, or other stimulus emission from the source object. B. The motion of an observer also affects when and where potential sensory data, that is, electromagnetic radiation signal, and other types of stimulus, is received, and thus also the sequence of experienced presence produced. Therefore, it is informational and relative passage of time. The content of any observer's present depends upon the input received and processed, which varies for each observer. Rather than being what exists at uni-temporal now, external to the subjective experience. The observed present product can contain images of objects in forms and relations that did not coexist in material reality, because potential sensory information that has taken different amounts of time to arrive, and or be processed, can be amalgamated into the product. For an inorganic reality interface device, it is objectively related to the information input and function of the device. For an organic observer, there is additional processing making the product subjective, pertaining to the individual system, rather than just type and function, as there is biological variation. See David Eagleman's work, 2011, reference 4 on observer calibration of delays, for example. Reality interface. In this explanatory framework, a reality interface is an organism's sensory system, device, system or apparatus that converts received electromagnetic radiation, or other input that is unobserved to different observed, experienced, or observable, experienceable product. An interface between the underlying source reality and perception of it, imposing orientation and relative reference frame. It gives a limited fixed state product that pertains to the information input from the environment. Sequential in different ways. Both kinds of time can be described as sequences of configurations. Uni-temporal passage of time is the sequence of configurations of the object universe. Emergent passage of time is the sequence of products of an organic observer's sensory information processing. Experienced as a changing present, of image configurations, and other sensations, other experienced sensory processing products. All of which seem to be real to the one experiencing them. Or it is the sequence of products of an inorganic device that has received electromagnetic signals or other sensory input, generating a product from it. Importantly for physics, time emergent from the processing of input signals, that have also been called potential sensory data, allows non-simultaneity of same events, witnessed by different observers. Incidentally, internal state monitoring products and self-talk can also form a part of an individual's present experience. Uni-temporal passage of time gives a singular, unambiguous, sequential passage of time for atomic, subatomic, and all material events. Image reality, the present, and other current observation products, and object reality, existence at uni-temporal now, are not equivalent, and though co-occurring, do not have synchronized content. Time itself is a superfluous concept. Time is either bound to the material configuration of the object universe, being the temporal expression of it, or time is emergent from sensory signal processing. The observation product possesses a time dimension that is related to the varied material configurations of origin of the input signals, from which it is generated. Timing. The function and use of clocks. In a fundamental sense, we do not tell time but count events. Clinch, J.R., 2003, reference 3. Counting recurring events in object reality, of a particular kind, according to its type, is what a clock does. The changing count value is not showing the pace of change of the object universe, but the pace of the specific events it counts, being a measure of how often they occur, within the overall change of the object universe. Accurate clock time is dependent on the correct, regular and unimpeded or accelerated functioning of event generation and counting. The rate of change of clock time value, produced by the material clock, is proper time. The same rate of change that would be observed by a co-moving, or co-stationary observer, seeing the clock within their own rest frame. In a uni-temporal material universe, foundational time cannot proceed at different rates at different places. But environmental conditions can affect clock functioning. The material configuration of the clock is a part of the changing material configuration of the object universe. Being a material object, the clock is always wholly at uni-temporal now, fitting the philosophy of Endurantism. A clock observed from a distance is a product of electromagnetic signal processing. Time thus observed is relative emergent time. References: 1. Smith, JCN, 2012, Rethinking a Key Assumption About the Nature of Time. FQXI, Competition Entry. 2. Hawley, K. Temporal Parts, The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, Summer 2020 edition, E.N. Zalta, editor. 3. Clinch, J.R. 2003, Precise Time and Time Interval Clocks, Time Frames and Frequency. Department of Oceanography Naval Postgraduate School. PDF, retrieved September 2017. 4. Eagleman, D. 2011, On Choice, video, uploaded to YouTube on 5 October 2011.